Those of you who have listened to julesFM for a while will know that after every interview, I like to reflect on what I've learned from that guest and what advice I'm going to take forward and try and incorporate more of into my life. That doesn't mean there wasn't lots more takeaways in the interview. There always is. But I know that I can only focus on a few things at once. Often I'll go back to a number of these conversations again, and usually the second time or third time or whatever it may be, hear different things that I think are maybe more pertinent or useful for me at that time, which suggests to me that we hear what we need when we need it or when we're ready. And I'm sure this conversation with Elyse will be the same. But for now, here are some of the points or advice that I'm taking away from that chat. Firstly, you may never feel like you've made it. And I honestly do believe that this kind of sums up a lot of the things I've done in my life. Like, I've taken on lots of different ventures and made huge progress, but then got to a point where I'm like, I don't feel like I'm actually moving in fast enough or in the right direction, when quite possibly I really had made huge strides. Elyse spoke about how even across a long and successful career, like hers was 19 years in the game, she never felt like she had completely nailed it. There were highs, plenty of lows, and an ongoing sense of challenge. And instead of seeing that as a problem, though, she learned to see it as part of the process. And she said there was always something that she could be working on and trying to improve. And I can really relate to that, especially in this new season I'm in. I've learned so much in a relatively short time and continue to learn, but I'm back in that spot where I still feel like there is so much to keep learning and ways to improve. Elyse said this was a big part of what kept her motivated and growing during her career. So, look, often we tell ourselves that one day we'll feel confident, certain, or you're finished, completed. And until then, though, it's really challenging to not feel like you're behind. But her sentiments remind me that we may never feel like we've made it, and that we can, now rest knowing that we were done. So with that in mind, moving forward, I need to remember that it is very unlikely I will ever come to a place of feeling like I have finished, that I have completed it, all my skills are perfect. And so therefore, I just need to recognize that I have made progress, and a lot of progress actually. So yeah, and keep using that as motivation to move forward and grow. The second takeaway is one we hear a lot, but Elyse lived it a very real way. And that is just to focus on what you can control and let go of the rest and all the uncontrollables. Selection, outcomes, fairness. Elite sport isn't always fair. In fact, life sometimes looks like it's not fair. But what changed things for Elyse was learning to bring her attention back to her controllables, her effort, her preparation, her mindset, processes, all of the things that were within her ability to affect. And know then that some things were just out of her control. And I know I certainly have struggled with this concept in the past, as I really do like to control as much of my life as I can. And I'm sure my children would testify to me trying to control their lives as well, which is just partly true. But it's so easy to burn energy worrying about how we're perceived, what others think, or what might happen next. But as Elyse identified, progress happens when we put our energy into the parts that are actually ours to influence. So here's my next takeaway. I'm going to try and focus a little bit more on the controllables in my life and less of those out of my control. And unfortunately, my children now come into that category. Given that two of them are now adults, I really need to relinquish some of that control and that need to keep them safe. But I also know that it's not healthy and it's not good for me, and I can't do anything about it. So I'm going to apply that to not only my life, but to their life as well. And then that gives them a chance to do the same. And the final takeaway is that your definition of success is allowed to change. Early in Elyse's career, success looked like selection, wins, and achievement. Later, though, it became about fulfillment, connection, enjoyment, and where she's at now, waking up excited about what she was doing for the day. That evolution isn't failure, it's growth, maturity, experience, all of these things that we are developing over time. And what I love about this is the permission to let success shift as your life shifts. Permission to move toward what feels meaningful now, not what once mattered or what looks good from the outside. Because truly, this can look different at every stage and at every moment and where we're at. And a combination usually of where we've come from. So there are a few things I'm going to be focusing on for a while. Such fantastic advice and such an awesome reminder that yes, everyone's story looks different, and I love that. And what worked for Elyse will certainly look different for me and likely you. But the essence and the life skills learned along her journey can absolutely help with where I'm going and what I'm doing. And hopefully, maybe help you as well. Thanks for listening. Until next time.